SBF appearing in court today, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wall Street Journal reporting that he's expected to submit a not guilty plea. And also, his lawyers are asking the court to conceal the identities of those folks who signed his big old $250 million bail bond. Crazy stuff out of the SBF trial. I'm sure we'll see more and more of this in the coming weeks. Welcome back. Wendy, I think I heard a sigh out of you. I'm going to toss it to you for your thoughts.
Happy New Year. Sending everybody who is listening and watching love, light, and abundance, because we all need a little bit of abundance, especially when we hear stuff like this. Obviously, Sam is going to enter a not guilty, or he's going to state that he's not guilty, because everybody says that they're not guilty. Why? Of course, why would he say he's guilty? Even though we have these beautiful things called blockchain analytics that show exactly what happened. But anyways, I digress. As far as these two people's names being redacted, I think that they definitely should be public. We should know who is on his side, who is on his team. At the end of the day, all of the FTX creditors' names are going to be posted publicly because of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So we should be playing fair here. It's just very upsetting to see, to hear, and hopefully the courts do their job properly. But I do not have very much faith in them at all. Will?
Yeah, I'll pick up where you just dropped off right there. And I think it would be nice to know who these people are, but at the same time, there is a lot of threats against these people's physical safety. And whoever is involved in co-signing the bail here, they did not commit the fraud that SBF did and FTX did. So I think they do have some, maybe like an argument towards an anonymity. We don't quite know that yet, so we'll see what the judge rules. But according to SBF's lawyers who submitted this application for their names not to be unsealed, they said, "We have received a steady stream of threatening correspondence, including communications expressing a desire that they suffer physical harm. Consequently, there is a serious cause for concern that the two additional sureties would face similar intrusions on their privacy as well as threats and harassment if their names appear unredacted on the bonds of their identities are otherwise publicly disclosed." And I think that's a pretty fair argument. Like, physical safety at some point does become more important than necessarily just knowing whose name this is. On the other side, Wendy, I do see your point, right? In Chapter 11 bankruptcy, a lot of these creditors and people who are just not whole, they're going to have their names leaked. So why can't people who are on SBF's team have their names out in the open as well? Zach, I'll boot it over to you for your take.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and I think people want to know who's in his corner to this large degree. It's kind of a mystery here in the case, right? Say $250 million, you got to put up 10 to 15%. That's still $25 million bucks. And we talked about this last week or whenever we were last on. You know, the value of his parents' home is said to be something like $4 million, right? So there's sort of $20 million that two people, still unknown, have staked here on behalf of Sam Bankman-Fried. And it is something that people genuinely want to know, and it is going to be a mystery potentially if these do get sealed. But I don't know. I'll toss it to Wendy. I saw her itching to go in.
Again, I just think that if we're playing fair, if we're operating on a level playing field, that we do need to know these names. Yes, these people do have a large amount of capital, but what about all the creditors that have large and small amounts of capital? Their names or private information is going to be there. I'm just really sick of seeing the elites and seeing people with power, influence, and money essentially win these types of things when a lot of other people are hurt in the process. Let's face it, he scammed a lot of people. He lied about a lot of things, allegedly. It's just really not fair to retail for them to keep getting drugged through all of this time and time again, especially when our regulators have done essentially nothing to protect retail over this time. So I'm sorry, guys, I got to stick by my guns here. And if it's good for one, it's good for all.
I will say that we don't quite know what's happening with the Chapter 11 names yet. In the Celsius network, Chapter 11, we did see that a lot of names were unsealed, and that was just known to everybody. And that was really unfortunate. Someone even spun up a website that allowed you to quickly go through and see if someone was involved with Celsius network. And hopefully that does not happen with FTX. So far, I think they're trying to keep those names sealed and to respect people's privacy. It's a very big part of crypto, is having that privacy ethos contained. But we don't know if that's going to happen. Wendy, I sort of agree with you, but on the other side, I do kind of err on the side of physical safety here. And I guess it comes down to what the precedent is for the courts, right? If there was a precedent beforehand that the people who are putting this money on the line were able to keep their names sealed, then they probably should have their name sealed. But if they went in and signed a check and were willing to put their name next to SBF's and they're okay with their name being out there in the public, then that should be what happens. But we'll have to wait and see. Wendy, I'll boot it over to you, though. Or Zach, actually. Give it over to you.
Yeah, Zach, then me.
I was going to say, just 2 p.m. Eastern, going to be a lot of eyes on that courtroom here in the Southern District of New York. Going to be interesting to see if that not guilty plea, as reported, ultimately does get submitted, or if some deal has been struck in which the best course of action would be to plead guilty. I don't know. We think that not guilty is probably what's going to be submitted, but you can bet there's going to be a lot of information coming out of that courthouse at 2 p.m. today.